No one expected the courtroom to fall silent like that, not the reporters, not the attorneys, not even the judge who seemed momentarily caught off guard by the magnitude of the ruling. It was a moment that shifted everything, a single decision. Delivered just after lunch recess exploded across the legal community and beyond. Phones started ringing, PR teams raced into war mode, and for Blake Lively's camp the alarm bells couldn't have been louder. The court had just sided with Justin Baldoni, and it wasn't a minor victory. It was a massive legal turning point that will have ripple effects for weeks if not months. One motion, one sentence, and the balance of power changed. Before we dive into the ruling itself, let's step back and remind ourselves what this legal fight is even about. Because while much of the internet has been following bits and pieces only now, are we beginning to see how all the threads are weaving into something much larger? Justin Baldoni, actor, producer, and co-founder of Wayfarer Studios, filed a civil suit months ago alleging that Blake Lively and certain affiliated parties had defamed him publicly and professionally, costing him major business deals, brand relationships, and damaging his reputation. At the center of his case were a series of interviews, text messages, and rumors, some tied to red carpet whispers, others leaked through anonymous Hollywood insiders. Blake, for her part, has denied all wrongdoing. Her legal team has aggressively filed protective orders, attempted to seal certain communications, and even pushed for subpoenas to be squashed. And while public opinion has shifted like waves, one thing has been clear. From the beginning, this case has never been about one headline. It's about control, perception, and consequences. And now the court just handed Baldoni something extraordinary, a motion that allows previously sealed communications to be entered into discovery. That might sound dry, but in legal terms it's explosive. It means that certain text messages, emails, and possibly even internal documents connected to Lively's legal team and PR firms can now be reviewed by Baldoni's attorneys. According to filings reviewed by reporters, this includes a set of previously hidden correspondences that mention both Baldoni and third-party platforms, hinting that media narratives may have been shaped deliberately behind the scenes. This isn't just a win, it's a doorway. Almost immediately after the judge's ruling, legal experts on platforms like X and LinkedIn started dissecting the implications. One former entertainment litigator wrote, "This is the kind of ruling that turns a defamation case from a theoretical claim into a fact-finding goldmine. If Baldoni's lawyers know what to do with this, they now have a pipeline into conversations that Blake's team never thought would be exposed." Another commented, "Not since the Depp v. Heard case have we seen a courtroom pivot this dramatically. Based on pretrial motion practice, even neutral journalists were stunned." A major podcast host tweeted, "I literally gasped when the update hit my phone. This is a massive setback for Lively's camp and possibly a turning point for public trust." So let's talk about Blake Lively for a moment. Her public persona has long been pristine, elegant, witty, philanthropic. She's the red carpet darling, the witty interview guest, the mom who bakes cupcakes and posts about her kids' art projects. But the courtroom is not a talk show, and no amount of charm changes what a judge deems legally discoverable. Insiders close to the situation are reporting that Blake's team didn't expect this ruling. In fact, one paralegal source claims her attorneys were visibly upset after court adjourned and immediately requested a sidebar to explore appeals or delaying tactics. Behind closed doors, the pressure must be enormous, because now Blake is facing the possibility that private messages, possibly involving third parties or mutual contacts, will become public. And if those communications suggest any intentional orchestration of media attacks, the fallout could be significant, not just legally but professionally. By the next morning, the media machine was already shifting. Outlets that had previously been aligned or at least sympathetic to Blake's narrative began to hedge. Headlines changed. What was once Blake Lively fights back against baseless claims became Blake Lively's legal strategy faces new challenges. Social media analysts noticed that several of Blake's usual defenders had gone quiet. No tweets, no Instagram stories. Silence. Meanwhile, Baldoni's name surged to the top of trending charts. Even Hollywood sources began speaking more openly. One producer told a well-known gossip blog, "This is the kind of twist you don't recover from easily if she loses." The PR momentum, the legal battle becomes twice as hard. YouTube creators, legal analysts, Redditors, and gossip accounts were already on high alert when the court convened, but after the decision broke, it was like a digital wildfire. Clips of past interviews were reposted, dissected, and remixed. Live commentary channels held 4-hour breakdowns, analyzing every possible text that might now be discoverable. TikTok sleuths speculated wildly who else could be mentioned. Were their communications about Taylor Swift? Was Ryan Reynolds ever Referenced could publicists be forced to testify. In one particularly viral post, a user wrote, "If the judge is allowing these messages in, then someone's about to get exposed." This just went from legal chess to open warfare. So where does the case go from here with this ruling? Baldoni's team is expected to formally request full production of the newly unlocked materials within the next 7 days. If Blake's team objects or delays, they may risk being held in contempt or triggering court-imposed deadlines. Additionally, the judge signaled that more motions regarding witness testimony may be heard earlier than expected, another sign that momentum is shifting. Legal analysts say this is now a live wire case. Everything matters. Every word, every message, every past interview could now be revisited under a microscope. Beyond the courtroom and the headlines, there's a larger story here. This case and this moment represent a kind of reckoning, not just for Blake, not just for Justin, but for Hollywood itself. The industry where image is everything is now colliding with an era where truth and transparency are demanded in ways we've never seen before. In a world of curated narratives and tightly managed reputations, this ruling just tore open a door that can't easily be closed. As reporters filed out of the courtroom and the internet began to buzz with headlines, something very different was unfolding behind the thick frosted glass doors of Blake Lively's legal team's private conference room. Sources close to the case say the atmosphere was tense, panicked, and almost surreal. Phones were blowing up, assistants were running in and out, and legal aides sat with wide eyes, waiting for instructions. Because make no mistake, this wasn't just an ordinary court loss, this was a bombshell. And Blake Lively's attorneys knew it. It took less than 2 hours for Blake's legal team to huddle together in what was described as a crisis control meeting, led by her lead counsel, a high-profile attorney who had represented numerous A-listers in past controversies. The team immediately began preparing their next steps. One insider revealed there was a feeling of disbelief. They really thought that motion was going to be denied or at least postponed. The fact that the judge didn't hesitate made it even worse. The objective now damaged control. First, file an emergency request for clarification or limitation on what can be reviewed. Second, notify Blake's PR reps and publicists of the situation. Third, prepare a formal legal memo assessing the risk if those messages become public. And finally, reach out to third parties who might be named in those messages. According to sources, some of those individuals had no idea they were ever mentioned, and they're not happy about it. While the legal team was focused on filings and strategy, the real emotional blow hit the public relations arm of Blake's empire. For years, she has maintained a near-flawless image, stylish, sophisticated, safe. Even during occasional rumors or media jabs, Blake's reputation never took a real hit. That might change now, because this ruling opens the door to something Hollywood fears most: exposure. Not through tabloids or speculation, but through legal discovery, something far harder to spin. A PR rep working with a related client stated, "There's a very real fear that emails, texts, or voice memos might show coordinated efforts to damage Baldoni's public standing. If that gets out, it's a nightmare." Already, Blake's team has reportedly begun preparing two types of statements, one for public release, just in case something leaks, and one internal document outlining how to pivot the narrative, if necessary. One of the lesser-known but critical consequences of the court's decision is what it triggers behind the scenes, namely a flurry of uncomfortable phone calls. Sources confirm that at least 3 known influencers and entertainment reporters who had been covering the case positively for Blake received courtesy calls late that evening warning them that their names or communications may come up in unrelated discovery. These aren't accusations, they're warnings. But the implication is clear: anything that looked coordinated, scripted, or retaliatory might now be under scrutiny. Some of those content creators reportedly declined to comment, others quietly began archiving old tweets and deleting Instagram stories. Blake Lively herself, according to a source close to her inner circle, was visibly shaken by the ruling. Though she did not attend court that day, she was allegedly on standby via video call, watching the judge's statement in real time. That same source stated she didn't think it would come to this. She thought it would get shut down quickly. When it didn't, she was shocked. Then she got angry. She reportedly cut short a scheduled dinner meeting and returned to her residence early. What was supposed to be a celebratory week following a major endorsement campaign announcement quickly became a weekend of silence. No Instagram posts, no paparazzi sightings, not even a cryptic story. For a figure like Blake, whose brand thrives on constant media presence, that silence said everything. Though not directly involved in the case, Ryan Reynolds' name has surfaced multiple times in media speculation. due to his close proximity to both Blake and the broader industry circles. This case touches with text messages and communications, potentially involving family or colleagues now at risk of exposure. The Reynolds' lively household is rumored to be in lockdown mode. A Hollywood publicist commented there's always collateral damage when legal discovery opens up like this. If there are references, even casual ones, to Ryan or his business ventures, it can create headlines whether they're fair or not. As of now, there's no indication that Ryan will be called to testify or involved directly, but fans and media outlets are watching closely. While chaos seems to be unfolding in Blake's corner, Justin Baldoni's team is keeping things measured and methodical. No outbursts, no victory laps, just quiet preparation. A representative for his legal counsel issued a rare statement: "We're grateful. The court is allowing the truth to come forward. Our client remains focused on resolution, transparency, and justice." One former colleague of Baldoni described his current demeanor as stoic but relieved. Apparently, he has declined several major interviews despite growing interest from national outlets. In favor of letting the legal process play out, this strategy is likely deliberate, because right now the internet is doing the heavy lifting. For him, by this point the public is no longer just reacting, they're investigating. Entire Reddit threads have been launched to catalog Blake's previous statements, interviews, and media partnerships. Some Twitter X users are creating side-by-side timelines comparing Blake's media moves with moments Baldoni claims he was harmed. The implications aren't definitive, but the pattern spotting is relentless. YouTube creators are beginning to ask sharp questions. Why was there such strong resistance to letting those texts be reviewed? Who else might be named in those communications? Could this ruling open the door to a counterclaim? And through it all, hashtags like #BaldoniWins and #BlakeDiscovery are trending globally. One of the most underappreciated outcomes of this decision is what it means for the legal structure of the case moving forward. Now that discovery has been widened, several new motions are expected. A supplemental list of witnesses, a re-examination of timelines involving alleged defamation, possible new subpoenas for people previously considered irrelevant, and perhaps most shockingly, Blake Lively herself may now be required to sit for a second deposition depending on what the texts revealed. The court has not confirmed this yet, but legal insiders suggest that if her statements contradict any uncovered messages, she could face credibility questions that severely hurt her position. And it's not just Blake feeling the pressure. Several brands, campaigns, and media partners who've worked with her are now quietly watching the case unfold. A few have already updated their press kits to exclude references to her, a subtle sign of distance. A fashion house that previously championed her as their muse has suddenly scrubbed her images from their homepage. Coincidence? Maybe. Strategic precaution? Possibly. This is how Hollywood works when trouble looms: fast, quiet, ruthless. While Hollywood buzzed with reaction and Blake Lively's team scrambled for footing, Justin Baldoni said, "Almost nothing." That silence didn't come from a lack of confidence. It came from strategy, and when he did finally speak, not at a press conference, not on a podcast, but through a short personal message posted to Instagram, it cut through the noise like a scalpel. The post was simple: a black and white photo of a sunrise over a quiet field. His caption: "The truth always finds a way. This isn't about me anymore." That single sentence set off a chain reaction. Within minutes of Baldoni's post, entertainment blogs and legal commentary channels began parsing every word. The truth always finds a way. Was this a reference to the judge's ruling, a signal that more is coming, a subtle warning? This isn't about me anymore. Was he suggesting this case is bigger than just defamation, that others are involved, or that a broader culture in Hollywood is finally being challenged for someone who'd remained mostly quiet? Throughout the escalating legal war, Baldoni's timing and tone struck the exact chord his supporters had been waiting for: calm, firm, moral. It wasn't a gloat. It was a reminder, and it worked. Within hours of the post, several blue checkmark accounts liked or shared the message. Among them, a popular actor from a past Baldoni project, an outspoken director known for calling out toxic industry behavior, and even a former network executive. No one said anything loud, no declarations, no hashtags. But in Hollywood, silence is often louder than applause, and support, even subtle, can speak volumes. A source close to a major streaming platform told reporters people are watching. Now, it's not just a celebrity spat anymore. It's become a referendum on accountability and truth in entertainment circles. One thing was clear: Baldoni had just seized the narrative without yelling. Across TikTok and Reddit, fan theories exploded. People broke down Baldoni's Instagram post frame by frame. Was the sunrise metaphor? Was the location symbolic? Had he posted from a set from home? Had the caption been edited? Some of it was pure speculation, but most of it was admiration. Because while Blake's side was battling leaks, PR panic, and public confusion, Justin looked calm, composed, and grounded. One popular comment read, "You can tell when someone's not scrambling. This man isn't scared. He's ready." Another said, "It's almost like he doesn't need to say much, because the facts are finally catching up." And a legal podcast host commented, "This is how you win a case in the court of public opinion. You let the other side spiral and you stay steady." Of course, not everyone believes Baldoni's calm is organic. Some skeptics have accused his team of orchestrating this quiet storm, calculated silence perfectly, timed statements, and a strategy rooted in long-term narrative wins. But even those critics admit if this is strategy, it's working. By remaining humble, focused, and almost spiritually detached, Baldoni is presenting himself as a victim of something larger and perhaps even a stand-in for others who've been silenced or manipulated by industry games. One entertainment journalist wrote, "Whether you like him or not, it's clear Justin is playing this like someone who has nothing to hide." Alongside Baldoni's personal post, his attorneys released an official statement later that afternoon. "We appreciate the court's measured and fair ruling. Our client has always maintained his commitment to truth, transparency, and resolution. We look forward to continuing our work through proper legal channels." It was professional, sharp, minimalist. But between the lines, the message was clear: we're not done yet. Insiders say Baldoni's legal team already had several follow-up motions drafted in anticipation of the ruling. Within 48 hours, they formally requested access to the communications newly opened by the court and signaled they may seek additional subpoenas. The mood confident, focused, even optimistic. Part of Baldoni's growing support comes not just from what he's saying, but from what he isn't saying. There are no leaks, no defensive interviews, no late-night social media threads. Instead, he's allowing the facts to work for him. And in the wake of the judge's decision, many see his approach as rare, even refreshing. A well-known YouTube creator said during a live stream, "We've seen so many celebrities try to PR their way out of legal issues. Justin isn't trying to perform, he's letting the truth speak, and that's why people are listening." In an age where overexposure often backfires, Baldoni's restraint is being interpreted as strength. Legal analysts now believe the case is headed into a completely different phase. The focus is no longer just on proving defamation, it's about showing pattern, intent, and potential coordination. If the documents now being reviewed reveal that Blake or her team actively shaped narratives, worked with media outlets to harm Baldoni's image, or even used third-party figures to manipulate coverage, the case could widen significantly. One former federal attorney said this ruling gives Baldoni leverage. It could also force a settlement, especially if there's anything in those texts that looks damaging. And if Blake's side refuses to settle and proceeds toward trial, every communication could become a potential exhibit, every name mentioned could become a witness. That's no longer just a legal battle, that's a full-blown crisis. Let's go back to Baldoni's words, "This isn't about me anymore." Fans and analysts alike are still parsing that phrase. Some say it's a nod to the emotional toll of the case, that it now represents others who've experienced similar smear campaigns or industry backlash. Others believe he's referencing a larger shift, a cultural one where celebrity brand control is beginning to crack under the weight of truth and accountability. And some speculate the case may uncover additional voices previously silenced, who now feel empowered to speak. In short, if Baldoni's team finds something serious in those documents, this case may no longer be just about Blake and Justin. It could become a moment, a movement, a reckoning. As the dust begins to settle, one thing is crystal clear. This isn't just another Hollywood legal squabble. It's something far more dangerous, far more explosive, and far more revealing. Because what began as a tightly controlled media battle with curated headlines and quiet influence has now spiraled into something raw and unpredictable. The courtroom has pierced the Hollywood illusion, and it's shining a light where many hoped darkness would remain. For Blake Lively, the image of calm control and confidence has taken a serious hit. One ruling, just one, unlocked a trove of digital records, shattered her team's momentum, and left the door wide open for scrutiny that was once thought unimaginable. Legal insiders now admit this wasn't just a procedural setback, it was a foundational blow, a collapse in the wall her team spent months, maybe years, trying to build. And on the other side, Justin Baldoni has done what few managed to do in a crisis of this scale. Stay quiet, stay grounded, and let the facts speak for themselves. His short, simple message, "This isn't about me anymore," hit harder than any press release could. It reframed the entire story. And suddenly this wasn't just about legal strategy or reputation management, this became about truth, power, and the cost of manipulation. The ripple effects are already being felt. From sudden media silence to brands discreetly pulling back to content creators deleting posts. The game has changed and the people know it. What comes next could be even more dramatic. Depositions may resume, communications will be reviewed, and the potential for new witnesses, new discoveries, and possibly even a complete reshaping of public opinion is now on the table. This is no longer just a case about two names on paper. It's a case about everything happening behind the scenes, the conversations, the strategies, the leaks, the silence, the truth. And no matter how carefully a narrative is crafted, once the truth starts to leak out, it's unstoppable. So now the question isn't who will win, it's what will we find out next? Because if this court victory was just the beginning, then what lies ahead could unravel everything we thought we knew about Blake, about Justin, and about how much of Hollywood's power is built on perception, not reality. The case has cracked wide open, and there's no turning back now.